This Case Takes Place is the name of our new podcast. Check it out with the links below. Thank you. This case takes place in France in 2025. On the 18th of August 2025, in a small house near the city of Nice, a live camera captured a disturbing scene. A 46-year-old man motionless on a thin mattress, with thousands of live viewers watching in horror, with two younger men moving in and out of frame. This is the case of Raphaël Graven, otherwise known by his online pseudonym Jean Pormanove, or just simply JP. JP was no stranger to attention. He was a former soldier, and according to those who knew him, he was a natural entertainer. After a career in the army, he reinvented himself in his 40s as an online content creator, amassing a huge following with stunts and endurance streams. JP would play video games one day and then subject himself to bizarre challenges the next, always upping the ante. By 2025, he had over 1 million followers across all platforms. In early 2023, a new platform was launched, Kick. Kick launched as a new live streaming service aiming to rival Amazon's Twitch. It was backed by online casino entrepreneurs and offered an unparalleled 95% cut of subscription revenue to its streamers. Due to the better pay, many people did transfer over to this new platform. However, what was more enticing to some was the reputation of Kick for having looser moderation and permissive content rules. Twitch is known to be somewhat rather strict, and Kick was far more relaxed. For JP, he saw this as an opportunity to build his online persona even further. JP had begun building his online persona around 2019 on sites like TikTok, YouTube and Twitch. Early on, he gained a modest following through gaming streams and some comedic skits. However, he soon turned to more extreme challenges, eating ridiculously spicy foods, streaming for 24 hours straight, and pranking himself, basically him just suffering for viewers' entertainment. When the platform Kick arrived with its more lenient content rules, it was the perfect arena for JP to push things further. Although he wasn't alone. By 2024, he had teamed up with two fellow French streamers who would soon become central characters in this case. JP's closest collaborators were known as Naruto and Safine. To their fans, the trio was sort of like an oddball internet family, with JP being the older brother figure. In fact, they even referred to themselves as brothers. Naruto once wrote to JP saying, "My brother, my sidekick, my partner, 6 years side by side, I love you." As the three spent more time on the platform, they discovered something. They discovered that if they inflicted pain and humiliation on JP, their viewership would go up. They would frequently slap and insult JP on stream, but this would escalate into something far more sinister. Gradually, Naruto and Safine became tormentors, while JP became the punching bag. By late 2024, each stream featured physical and psychological humiliations inflicted in real time, all performed in front of a live, interactive audience. The trio even devised twisted game show-like segments. JP would be asked impossibly hard questions, or made to perform under duress. Wrong answers or failures were met with punishments, a hard slap to the face, a bucket of cold water over the head, or something even worse. Night after night, viewers tuned in to watch JP endure degrading challenges. What they saw was shocking. JP being slapped, kicked and verbally abused by the two other streamers, even to the point that JP became visibly groggy. In one clip that has since circulated online, JP is shown bound to a chair, whilst his co-streamers gleefully spray him with paint and fire a paintball gun at him. In another segment, they tighten their hands around his throat in a mock strangulation, releasing only when JP's face became red and he began gasping for air. Then, on another occasion, a wrestling match ensued on stream, but this turned into a full-fledged beating, with JP once again being the victim. With this, the live chat box on the screen would see a large amount of engagement. Basically, the further they took it, the more reward they would get. Some viewers believed that this was just all an act, an extreme form of comedy or stunt performance where JP was in on the joke, a little bit like Jackass. However, others watched precisely because they suspected that this was entirely real. French media has since reported that in the hours upon hours of footage, it is not clear whether JP had subjected himself to the violence voluntarily or if he was forced to endure it, nor could they tell if the action was real or staged. Either way, it attracted more and more curious onlookers. In late 2024, they upped the antics again. JP was subjected to sleep deprivation, regular beatings, and even forced to ingest unknown liquids on camera. He was often covered in bruises, had black eyes, and appeared to be disorientated. All of this was happening in the open. As the horrors unfolded live, some observers outside of Kick grew alarmed. In late 2024, French journalists and authorities took notice of JP's disturbing broadcasts. On the 15th of December 2024, there was an exposé by French media. They highlighted one of the shows that the trio would broadcast, which roughly translates to English as Battle of the Cripples. This exposé detailed how influencers in France were producing live videos of extreme violence and humiliation, targeting vulnerable people, and doing so for huge audiences and massive profit. In early January of 2025, the police reportedly took in the three for questioning. Under interrogation, they all insisted that their content, while extreme, was voluntary and staged. The investigation, however, remained open. Officials began monitoring the situation, gathering evidence from videos and trying to determine if any laws were actually broken. In late January of 2025, JP returned to streaming, and the cycle of on-camera abuse resumed, seemingly again escalating further, and soon it would all come to a tragic end. In August of 2025, JP and his two partners announced an ambitious new project, a marathon livestream. Marathon livestreams are a growing trend in the influencer world, creators staying live for 24, 48, even 72 hours straight as a challenge to themselves and as a way to raise money for charity or grow subscribers. But for these three, it was different. This just wouldn't be sitting in front of a camera playing video games for a long time. Their marathon stream would be full of extreme violence, endurance, and humiliation. They rented a house specifically for the live stream, and on the 7th of August 2025, the stream went live, and once it began, it didn't stop. Viewers could tune in at any hour, any day, any night, just to see the horrendous state that JP was in. In the initial days, Naruto and Safine played the roles of live hosts, bantering with the chat and occasionally allowing JP moments of rest, but only brief ones. The abuse started nearly instantly, and it escalated rapidly. Each day of the stream had challenges that essentially amounted to systematic torture. JP was deprived of sleep, kept awake by loud music, or sudden shake-ups by his partners if he ever nodded off. He was often beaten on camera, sometimes as punishment for failing a task, other times just for no reason at all. JP was also forced to consume hot sauces, raw eggs, and other toxic concoctions, all designed to make him feel ill. There were moments where JP was choked and then dragged in front of the camera, his eyes half open in a daze. Paintball guns were fired on his skin at close range, closer than ever. The bruises were clearly visible on JP's arms and torso. According to some viewers, his body was a sickly pale yellow colour, with purple bruised circles dotted all over. And then there was the psychological torture. Naruto and Safine berated JP constantly, calling him demeaning names, laughing at his suffering, and reminding him that the audience wanted all of this to happen. Some fans did express some worry, writing things like, "He doesn't look good, JP, please rest." But others said, "We paid for this show, keep going." By day 10, JP was a wreck. Those watching the stream could see that something was different now. JP's face was swollen and pale. He moved sluggishly, barely able to stand without swaying. At times, he appeared to be drifting in and out of consciousness whilst on his feet, But still, the live stream continued. At one point, Naruto and Safine tried to stage a mock game where JP had to crawl towards a goal while they periodically kicked him. But as they kicked him on the ground, it became clear that JP had no strength left to even react. And then, the final moments arrived live on camera. It was Sunday, the 17th of August 2025, rolling into the early hours of Monday the 18th. JP was shown lying down on a mattress on the floor. This served as his only bed throughout the streaming marathon. He was wrapped up in a blanket, and for a long stretch of time, he hadn't moved at all. The chat began to fill with messages like, "JP, are you still alive? Someone please check on him. This isn't funny anymore." Viewers were growing deeply uneasy. Naruto then walked over to a mattress where JP was laying. He picked up a plastic water bottle and chucked it at JP's ribs. Normally, even an exhausted JP would flinch or groan, but this time, he didn't even move. The silence on the stream was horrifying. There was no reply, no movement, no nothing. In a sudden panic, the stream abruptly cut out. The video feed went dark, ending the 10-day stream. On viewers' screens, the channel simply just went offline. Those who had been watching were left in shock and confusion. Many began to wonder, had they just really witnessed a man's final moments? Some hoped that this was just a prank or an intentional cliffhanger, but others immediately knew, and they feared the worst. People began flooding to social media with alerts. Concerned fans and bewildered onlookers alerted authorities, unsure if what they had seen was real. Tragically, it was all too real. Sometime after the broadcast ended, paramedics were called to the streaming house. When they arrived, they found JP unresponsive, and they could not revive him. On the 18th of August, it was publicly confirmed that a 46-year-old man had been found dead at the livestream location. It didn't take long for people to learn the truth. JP had literally died on live camera. News of JP's death spread like wildfire across the internet. In France, the story dominated the news. For many who didn't know about this strange internet subculture, they were deeply horrified. They saw this as a nightmare scenario where online entertainment had gotten utterly out of control. Those who had seen the final stream were traumatized. A large number of viewers, including teenagers, had essentially watched a man be tortured to death in real time. Fans who had followed JP's journey for years were in tears and disbelief. Many posted tributes and apologized for ever encouraging this extreme violence. There was an outpouring of grief and guilt, but it was far too late. Internet forums then lit up with discussions. How could this happen? Why didn't anyone stop it? Some of JP's loyal followers confessed that they had initially found the content extremely funny, but over time, they grew concerned for his safety and just didn't know how to help. Naruto also publicly mourned JP, which many people found to be rather tone-deaf. He wrote on Instagram, "I ask you all to respect his memory and to not share the video of his last moments. I love you, my brother. We will miss you terribly." Safine also shared his sadness of JP's death. However, many accused Naruto and Safine of crocodile tears, holding them directly responsible for JP's death. Many responded by saying, "You're the ones who did this to him. You killed your brother for views." Some people tried to say that JP had died peacefully in his sleep due to an underlying medical condition, and that the violence had all been scripted. When investigators began interviewing Naruto and Safine in the wake of the death, this was their immediate defense. Their lawyers stated that JP had a pre-existing cardiovascular problem, and that all the scenes were staged and they were just following a script. But these claims were met with widespread skepticism. French media had, after all, seen hours of the footage, in which JP's reactions didn't look acted at all. It looked entirely real. An autopsy has been ordered by prosecutors to determine the precise cause of death. If the autopsy shows any signs of trauma, like broken ribs, internal bleeding, toxic substances in his system, it would strongly undercut the natural causes narrative that the two are trying to spin. As of right now, French authorities have confirmed that they are opening a formal judicial investigation into JP's death, treating it as suspicious and seeking to assign responsibility. Police have since combed through the rented house that the streamers were using, seizing streaming equipment, hard drives, and any evidence of what transpired during those 10 days. Naruto and Safine have been identified as key witnesses and potential suspects. At the very least, they were the last people to see JP alive. It's reported that manslaughter or negligent homicide charges are very much on the table, and then, depending on the autopsy results and the other evidence, charges could even escalate to something like torture and murder. For the platform Kick, the fallout is potentially devastating. The platform is still very new, and they are trying to build a reputation. Many have also drawn parallels to an episode of Black Mirror in which a man endures dangerous stunts on livestream in exchange for money. Kick have given an official response. A spokesperson offered condolences, saying, "We are deeply saddened by the loss of JP, and we extend our condolences to his family, friends, and community." Kick has asserted that it is now urgently reviewing the circumstances surrounding the death and engaging with relevant stakeholders to investigate what exactly happened. Kick also claimed that the community guidelines are designed to protect creators and that they remained committed to upholding these standards across the platform. They have said that this wasn't supposed to happen on their watch. Behind the scenes, Kick took swift action on the specific accounts involved. All streamers who participated in the live broadcast were banned pending investigation. JP's own channel was also removed from the site, effectively scrubbing the evidence of the streams from public view, although there are some recordings circulating online. The two co-streamers maintain that they never intended to really hurt JP, and it seems like their defense will hinge on claiming that JP was a consenting adult and that they all believe that this was part of the show. However, consent becomes difficult when money and power dynamics are involved. JP was older, but it seems like he was in a less powerful position. He seemed to be financially dependent on the streaming income, and he also seemed to be emotionally dependent on his so-called friends. The investigators want to explore whether or not he was manipulated or coerced into enduring more than he wanted to. Text messages, behind-the-scene videos, and witness testimony from those who knew the trio could shed light on how much of this JP truly agreed to. However, this text message has since come to light. Before his death, JP sent this message to his mother. "Hey Mum, how are you? I'm sick of this game. It's gone way too far. I feel like I'm being held hostage by their awful concept. I'm exhausted. I want to leave, but the other guys won't let me. He is holding me hostage." I'm unsure if anyone else has been arrested or charged or anything, but from some of the clips I've seen, I can imagine that a few other people may be arrested sometime soon. The case of JP is frightening and tragic on so many levels. This truly is a Black Mirror episode come to life, and sadly, it probably won't be the last of such cases. It started as the story of a man trying to reinvent himself after the military, finding friends and fans through the internet, but it soon changed into a modern horror story.